Narcissists are keeping score. But how is this different from a reciprocal relationship? Don't all relationships require a little bit of give and take? Shouldn't you feel like your partner is doing at least a somewhat comparable amount of things that you're doing? Isn't that only fair? What's the difference between the way a narcissist keeps score and the way a normal relationship functions? That's what I'm going to go over in today's video. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. So in this video, I'm going to go pretty in depth into the nuanced differences between the way a narcissist keeps score in a relationship and the way a normal or maybe even an unhealthy relationship might manage differences in how much each partner or each person feels like they're giving to the relationship. But just to start things off, I'm going to go over some simple differences. The first big difference is that in a narcissistic relationship, there is distrust. The narcissist doesn't trust anyone they're in any type of relationship with. So right off the bat, there's this inherent feeling that if they don't watch it, if they don't keep score, they're going to get taken advantage of. They don't trust the other person's intentions. They don't trust that the relationship is going to serve them if they're not controlling every little piece of it. So that's a big difference right there. In a normal relationship that's somewhat healthy, at least, there's a mutual trust. You trust each other's intentions. Even if one of you feels like you're giving a lot more than the other, there's still this trust that both of you at least mean well. Both of you care. Neither one of you is trying to take advantage of the other. And that does not exist in narcissistic relationships. Narcissists are looking out for any way that you might be trying to take advantage of them. When you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it's really common to become fearful of anything they're doing for you and fearful that you're not doing enough. So you're not doing things for them out of love. You're not doing things for them because you want to. You're doing things for them out of fear. In a narcissistic relationship, you don't really get a chance to decide what you would like to do for the other person because you're too busy trying to keep up with endless demands out of fear that you're going to be punished for not doing enough. So you're so busy trying to avoid punishment that you don't even have time to do things from your heart. Everything's coming out of fear. There's also fear when the narcissist is doing things for you or doing things at all, that you're going to be punished for this later. Like, what does this mean? Why is this person sweeping the floor? Or why did they bring me dinner? What do they want from me? Are they going to get mad at me later because I didn't do enough to earn whatever it is they're doing? There's this nervousness and this walking on eggshells and this mysterious aura of, what do they really want? What does this really mean? And that doesn't exist in healthier relationships or relationships with non-narcissistic people. Even when you're frustrated, even when you feel like one of you is giving more than the other, there isn't this nervousness and fear of punishment that's going to come later for things that you can't predict right now. When a narcissist is doing things for you, there's this debt that gets created. And that's not something that a normal, healthy person is going to do when they do something for you. When people that care about you do things for you, they don't automatically stick something on a tally board in their head of like, this person better pay me back for this. I better get something worth it out of this. People that care about you do things for you because they want to. But when a narcissist does something for you, a debt is created. And if you spend enough time in this relationship, you will consciously or subconsciously become aware of every debt that is created. And this makes a lot of us feel very nervous for reasons that maybe we can't even articulate, because we can be manipulated into believing that it really is because we're not doing enough. We're not pulling our weight. We're lazy. We're trying to get away with things. We're taking advantage of them because that's what we're being told. One more difference is that narcissists don't communicate clearly what they want. They just punish you for not doing something that you didn't know that they wanted you to do. In a normal relationship that is maybe a little unhealthy, maybe somebody asks you to do the dishes and they ask you all the time, please, will you do the dishes? I just want you to do the dishes. And for whatever reason, you just don't do the dishes. This might be unhealthy and it might be aggravating and it might do some damage to the relationship, but it's a clearly communicated expectation. There's a clear communication and expectation. And you know that this person wants you to do the dishes. And if you did the dishes, then they would be happy. There's a specific task that they want you to do, or a specific expectation that you either choose to fulfill or not. With a narcissist, you don't know what they want until you don't do it. And there's an endless list of these things. So you just never know what you're doing or not doing that they're going to come back to you later and punish you for or complain about. And this is another difference between a relationship that maybe just has some reciprocity and communication problems and a narcissistically abusive relationship. You just don't know what the expectations are. But the narcissist is keeping score anyway. I'm going to go over more differences between the way a narcissist keeps score and the way other relationships function later in this video. But first, I'm going to pause and just explain some reasons that narcissists do this. Why are they constantly keeping score? Why are they so fixated on how much you're doing and how much they're doing and how unfair everything is? What is it about narcissism that causes this? I already touched on one thing, and that is their distrust. They don't trust you. They don't trust anybody. That's a huge part of this. I mean, imagine a world where everyone around you is someone that you view as somebody that's trying to take advantage of you, somebody that's trying to trick you into giving them more than they're giving you. I mean, you'd probably have your guard up all the time, right? You'd be looking out for any reason that somebody's taking advantage of you. And you would be very slow to give of your time and resources to people you don't trust. Also, narcissists view everyone for their utility. So the only use a narcissist feels they have of anyone is what they can get out of that person. They don't trust people, and that goes hand in hand with their inability to see the value in anything emotional that you provide for them, anything of depth and meaning. They can't even comprehend the value of that kind of thing. They see you for your utility only, not for the value of the relationship itself. They see everyone like this. What can I get out of this person? What can I get this person to do for me? How can this person support my ego? How can this person make me feel like the most important person in the world? That's how they view everyone. So they are viewing everybody in a way of like they're all these mines of what can I mine from this person and that person? What can I get from these people for my own use? And at the same time, they assume everyone else is doing this as well. They assume everyone is looking at them the same way. Everyone's looking at them thinking, what can I get out of this person for my own benefit? And this is part of the reason that a narcissist cannot even comprehend of a reason that they would ever want to do anything for someone else's benefit if they're not getting something out of it. There's no reason in the world they would ever give of their time and resources to another person if they weren't going to directly benefit themselves. Why would they? If the whole world is made up of people that are just trying to get what they can out of each other, why would they give of themselves? That's not fair, right? Why would they want to give of themselves to a world that's just trying to get what they can out of them without giving anything back? And this is why when a narcissist is doing anything for you, when they're giving anything to you, their time, their resources, their money, whatever, part of them might feel like they have to do this in order to manipulate you into feeling obligated to give back to them. So this is part of controlling you. But part of them, especially if they don't feel very confident that they have control over this, very confident that they are going to see returns in a very concrete way, part of them feels like they're being taken advantage of, like they're some kind of sucker and you're tricking them somehow. And the reason they look at it like this is because this is how they look at you. When they have you under control, when they have manipulated you into feeling obligated to do things for them, they've got your number. They've got you figured out. They've manipulated you. They're taking advantage of you. They know they're doing this either on a conscious or subconscious level. They know that they're taking advantage of you, and they assume that you're doing the same to them. They assume that this is how everyone operates in relationships. So if they have to give back anything to you, they better get something out of it, right? They don't get warm fuzzies for doing things for the people in their lives. They don't feel a rewarding feeling for having served someone else, for having made someone else's day better. They feel like they're probably getting taken advantage of, and they better make sure that that doesn't happen. Another reason narcissists do this is because they're always looking for ways to make themselves superior to you. Narcissists are extremely insecure people that have to constantly be proving to themselves that they are the only person in the world that matters. And one way they can do this is to demonstrate how much they do. They do so much for all the people in the world that they know. They're so giving. They work so hard. They sacrifice so much. And what are you doing? You obviously don't do even nearly as much as they do, and that makes them superior, and that helps them cope in a world where they really feel like a completely worthless piece of garbage. So of course they're going to be constantly comparing and embellishing and exaggerating all the things they do compared to all the things you do. Another narcissistic element to this is the fact that narcissists have no gratitude. When you do things for them, they don't feel gratitude or appreciation. They feel completely entitled to anything and everything that you could ever give to them because they feel like they own you. They have a right to extract anything they can out of you. Remember, they see you for your utility, and that's the only value you have to them. And that's the only value in their mind that you have as a human being, because anything that you have to give to anyone else or to yourself, they don't even think about that. That doesn't mean anything. The only reason you exist is to do things for them and to give things to them. That's the only value you have as a human being. So there's no gratitude for that because it's just how things ought to be. And also there's no gratitude because they figure you're up to something anyway. They don't trust your motives. If you do something nice for them, they figure you're just trying to manipulate and trick them anyway because of how they're trying to manipulate and trick you. So these are two reasons that there's no gratitude, which means that when you do things for them, you're not going to get as many points as they're going to give themselves for the things they do because they're not grateful for anything you do. And one more reason that narcissists keep score is just to keep pressure on you, to keep you on this hamster wheel of always trying to make them happy, always trying to do enough, because nothing's ever going to be enough. Because if what you did was suddenly enough one day, well, now they've turned off the spigot of extracting endless whatever from you for their own benefit. They can never acknowledge to you that you've given them enough because you've never given them enough. There's no such thing as enough. And they have to keep that pressure on you to keep control of the relationship and keep you giving and giving and giving more and more to them. So now that I've explained why narcissists keep score, I want to talk a little bit more about the ways that they keep score and how unfair this is. And the whole goal of this video is to help anyone out there see if they're trapped in this sort of relationship, because it can be very difficult to see this from the inside. When you're in a relationship with a narcissist who's keeping score, you are made to feel like this is only fair, right? Like I said in the beginning of the video, it's only natural that a relationship is a little give and take, that there's reciprocity, right? What if you honestly feel like things aren't fair? Or what if the person you're with honestly feels like you're not doing enough? Spoiler alert, the narcissist honestly feels like you're not doing enough. But what if they have a legit reason to think that? What if this is just something they're trying to communicate? This can be really hard to see when you're in the relationship. It can be really hard to see how unfair and rigged this game is. So that's what I want to help you with today. I want to tell a story from my childhood that I think is kind of funny, and it kind of applies to this, but I mainly just think the story is really funny. But when I think I was about 11 years old, I had a best friend, and we lived in a small town, and we went to my best friend's little brother's Little League game. I think it was a Little League game. It was some kind of sporting event for, I think he was like 8 years old. So 8-year-old boys playing Little League, I assume. So at this game, on my friend's brother's team, there was a lady keeping score, and she was a really prominent member of the community in this small town. Everyone knew her. She was very well respected. Her husband held a very prominent leadership role in this town. I mean, she was a very well-known, very well-respected person. She had a pretty prominent leadership role in the children's classes of the church I went to as well. So I knew her from church, ironically. So we noticed early in the game when we went to kind of look over her shoulder to see what the score was, we realized that she was cheating, and we discovered this early enough in the game that it really became the focus for us, and we were just enthralled with this. We just thought it was the funniest thing. Every time somebody on my friend's brother's team would score a point, which I should say her son was on this team, okay? Every time they'd score a point, we'd look and she'd jot down like 2 points. And we were just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's doing this. And then we'd look every time the other team would score a point, she'd maybe just not put anything down. Or maybe she would, just depending on how she felt, right? But she was clearly leaving some marks off. And we just kept watching her do this, and she had no idea that we were watching all of this. And it wasn't until the end of the game that she realized that the other team had somebody keeping score as well. So when the game was all over, me and my friend, we were just giddy. We just thought this was so hilarious. We went up to ask her, like, what was the score? And she, I remember she actually turned to us and was like, actually, I think I made some mistakes here. I don't think I've got the right score, because she realized that the other team had been keeping score too. How petty, I don't know, but I just think this is the funniest story. And I think it's also a really good demonstration of the way that narcissists keep score in relationships. The game is rigged. They will embellish and exaggerate and go on and on about every little thing they do for you. But the things you do for them, they don't mean anything. They're not that big of a deal. You had to do that anyway. Or you just did that because you had to, or you just did that because you're just trying to suck up to them, or you're trying to manipulate them. Nothing you do really counts or really means anything, but the tiniest little thing they do, they deserve everything in the world for that. It's like if you're in a relationship with a narcissistic person and your car breaks down and you don't have a car for like a month, but your job is on the way where the narcissist works. So the narcissist agrees to give you a ride to work every morning for a month or whatever, right? And they're just dropping you off on their way to work. I think when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you're conditioned to recognize that this is a favor, or this is something to be grateful for. And I mean, it's something to be appreciated and grateful, but I think you're really conditioned to blow this out of proportion in your mind, to feel like it's a really big deal. Like, wow, this person normally doesn't like doing things, or I know they're touchy about doing me favors. So I'm so grateful for this. This is so nice of them, right? And you recognize that and you're grateful for it. But if the roles are reversed, if you're the one giving them a ride to work every morning on your way to work, well, you were just on your way to work anyway. It's not that big of a deal. And you're going to internalize this. The narcissist believes this. The narcissist believes, well, it'd be rude and thoughtless of you not to give me a ride to work. It's just on your way. Of course you're going to give me a ride. And you're going to internalize this and see it the same way. So the narcissist really manipulates you into downplaying and minimizing all the things you do, and they manipulate you into embellishing and exaggerating all the things they do. Narcissists are delusional about how much they're giving to the relationship and how much you're giving to the relationship. I don't think there's any better word for it. They are delusional. I was in a relationship once, I think I've talked about this before, where I worked a 9 to 5, and this person that lived with me really stayed home and did nothing all day. He owned some real estate property, so he had a little bit of passive income off of this, and then he had a job where he worked once or twice a week, depending on how busy it was. So most days he sat home and did nothing, and I went to work all day, every day. And it wasn't until this had been going on for a little while that I realized that there was no appreciation for this. I assumed that he appreciated the fact that I went to work every day and that he was able to stay home and do nothing. But he did not. He did not appreciate it at all. And some funny things that came up, they're funny now in hindsight. One thing he did while he sat at home and did nothing was he would think about things that he could do to get rich. One thing was like an invention that he was working on. So he would sit and think about this invention that he had no idea how to make, but he would sit and obsessively think about this invention and how he could create it. And there were other things like that he would just sit and think about, how can I make money with this scheme or that scheme or this invention. So he would just sit there all day doing nothing, thinking about different ways that he could get rich. And at one point, he actually articulated to me that he felt like he was contributing more to the relationship than I was because of all the time he was spending thinking. He equated his thinking to hard work. He explicitly said that to me, and that he felt like that was more valuable than what I was doing. So here I was in a relationship with somebody where I was going to work all day, every day, and he was sitting at home doing nothing. And in his mind, he had twisted things around to where he was contributing more than I was. In addition to that, the same person would complain to me about feeling like he was the maid. And he would bring up a really popular, I think it's a national chain of a maid service in our area. And he would just complain that I thought he was the maid service. And at the time, I was so overwhelmed by his irrational anger and his word vomit that I couldn't even think clearly. And I became defensive, and I would think, well, I'm working all day. I'm busy. I don't know what do you want me to do where you don't feel like the maid? But in hindsight, I look back and it's almost laughable because he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't cleaning anything. He did his own laundry. He would make his own food. He would clean the counter off sometimes because I remember how angry he would get if he saw any crumbs on the counter. And that was it. I don't remember him doing anything else at all, but in his mind, he was the maid. When you're in a relationship with a narcissist, they're not only keeping score, they're keeping score in a way that you cannot win. You will never score as many points as they have scored in their own mind. You will never catch up to them. You will never have done enough for them. Not only can they not communicate the expectations to you, they don't know what their expectations are. There's no way for you to predict or to know what it is they want from you, because there is nothing that they want from you that you could ever give them. If a narcissist starts doing the dishes and you don't even know they're doing the dishes, and they come to you later and they get angry that they're doing the dishes and they feel like they're a maid now and why aren't you doing anything? you might think, oh, I guess I better do the dishes from now on, right? Even though there was no way for you to know, it was never communicated to you that that was an expectation until you were being punished for it. But if you start doing the dishes, guess what? Next time it's going to be, why didn't you clean the toilet? I had to clean the toilet. Why aren't you doing this? Or why don't you sweep the floor? Or why do you leave the potato chips over here? The narcissist is looking for reasons to elevate themselves, to give themselves points and to deduct your points. They are looking for reasons to prove to you that you're not doing enough, no matter how much you're doing. And this is why you can't define what they want. You can't predict what their expectations are. They won't communicate these things to you because what they really want is to stay on top of this. What they really want is to extract as much out of you as they possibly can without giving any more than they have to in return. What they really want is to keep you on a hamster wheel, trying and trying and trying to make them happy, but you never will. When a narcissist is keeping score, you will never win. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.